episode 82. Here we go. Welcome, everyone, to episode 82 of 1 Hour, 1 Decision, 1H1D. I am Chris.
And I am Tom.
And we take 60 minutes and play a random game on Xbox Game Pass and decide. You picked the same character as me, didn't you, Tom?
I don't know. Did the class you picked end in Aller?
This episode, we're going to be talking about Octopath Traveler, and I apologize, everyone. I am fighting a disease that my children decide to lay upon me, so that's why I sound like this.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
It is. It really
those children and their germs,
precious gifts. Octopath Traveler. It was developed by Square Enix. And Acquire Corp helped with the development of this game as well. This game came out back in July of 2018, originally on a Nintendo Switch.
Yes.
I played this on the PC. It was 3.19 gigabytes on the PC. Tom, Xbox?
At least it was close this time. 3.4 gigabytes on the Xbox. I don't know what those 200 megs or whatever were
makes
for.
No sense. Makes no dang sense. Well, let's get into it. What kind of game is this?
You were more succinct than me. I put 2D RPG in a 3D sprite environment.
Yeah.
So I was trying to kind of capture the look of the game while also describing it. But
that's a good point. Should that be part of the, like, when you're trying to tell someone what kind of game is it? Should that be a description, part of the description, the way that it looks?
Well,
I don't know.
I think in the same way that when we were talking about Gorogoa, I said, mystery puzzle game.
Yeah.
I feel like if I just said 2D RPG, that there's a little bit more going on there because it does have like this kind of depth to it.
Yeah.
That, if you're just doing like a side-scrolling RPG, it wouldn't have. I'm
fair.
And it does this weird thing with the art, and there's like an isometric thing going on.
For sure. I just put JRPG.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is a JRPG. I mean, yes,
very much so a JRPG. And what's that game loop, Tom?
In very much the way you would expect with a JRPG. Talk to characters to advance the plot. Engage in turn-based battles to level up your character. Like every good JRPG.
Yeah, exactly. I wrote progress through a story or stories ? While beating up randomly encountered enemies, gaining XP and skills along the way.
Yes.
So
I think you just described the plot of every JRPG game.
Yeah, pretty much. We got it. Close up shop. No more JRPGs after this episode. So, shall we get into what we liked?
Yeah. Why don't you start? Especially with your first bullet point there, because I think it's very important to this game.
Yeah. I thought that it was actually pretty cool right off the jump. When you press new game, it tells you right up from the jump that you have to pick your character, but it's not a character customization or anything like that. There are multiple roles, multiple people in this world of Octopath Traveler, and they all have their own kind of what is the class? Their own class, right? But I thought the way that the classes, at least initially, were portrayed was interesting, because it's not your I mean, there are your typical warrior, your hunter, your mage character and stuff like that. But then there's some other characters that were kind of cloth under something else. Like, I picked the scholar thinking that I'd be able to talk my way out of things internal, but that wasn't the case always. But And it seems like you picked the scholar as well.
Yes. What are the odds, Chris?
8 chances, 8 possibilities, and we both picked the same one. What the hell, Tom?
Admittedly, I think it was either the first or the second one that it presents you with. And I went around the map looking at the different ones, and I realize now that it's called Octopath because there are 8 paths.
Yes.
Crazy how that works. But yeah, I went around the whole loop there, and then it came back and did scholar. I don't know why. It just, for some reason, it spoke to me and said, "This is the one to try."
Yeah, I was really gonna go and get start with the thief character, but then I was like, let's try a little something different. And then instead, I picked the same exact thing you used. So,
well, this shows our audience that we are doing this the right way, where we're not communicating, we're not stacking the deck. Right? This is. It was a random selection, and we randomly each kind of picked our own classes, and we just happened to pick the same one.
Yeah.
Well, at least we have a uniform experience, right? So, I liked the art style. Like, I liked the depth to it. The way I described it to myself was, I don't know if you've ever seen those like 2D pixel art shadow boxes.
Yes.
Where it has like the 2D art, but it's like got depth to it.
Yeah.
That's what this looked like. And I was like, hey, it looks like that's those cool art things that I'm always tempted to buy.
Yeah, those like little dioramas or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah, those are cool. And like the thing that I was thinking about also is the Chrono Trigger, if it was ever remade, like this would be really cool.
Yeah. I think this would be like the way to do it.
Yeah. Like if you don't want to go all out and make a fully, Akira Toriyama version where they like redo everything, all the art assets, but just do something like this, I'd be down with it.
Yeah, it would be a good way for them to do it again, because they keep going to the same well, keep re-releasing the same game with minimal changes.
Right. It is what it is.
Or they could make Chrono Trigger 2.
Or they could, but we can't have everything, Tom.
And don't tell me Chrono Cross is Chrono Trigger 2, because it's not. Sorry.
I refuse to play it.
I actually like Chrono Cross, begrudgingly so. But that's neither here nor there, because that's not this game. I liked that combat was quickly and clearly explained.
Mm-hmm.
Like, games should save the detailed, like really wordy explanations for like times when you need them. And this game, did that well, where it was like, okay, here you go. This is what you need to do. A couple of quick sentences, boom, you're off to the races. And
they use pictures. They use pictures properly too. There was 2 pictures, a couple sentences, done. That was it. Like that was pretty much your tutorial for every new thing that like comes up to you. That was really good. Yeah. I also want to point out that music was good.
Yes.
It was. It gave you that kind of like you are on an adventure. That kind of and like it fit for the most part. Any particular scene that you're in, the music like fit that particular scene. Voice acting, there was some. I picked Japanese. It was good. I don't know. Did you stick with the English?
I went with English, and I liked it. But we'll talk about we both have some problems with it that we'll talk about later. Mm-hmm. But generally, I thought it was pretty good. Like the characters acted well and conveyed, what needed to be conveyed, and
right. Okay. I also thought that going to the combat stuff, I liked that. I felt like there was like a rhythm to it as well. Obviously, you at the top you saw whose turn it was, and depending on like the way that you play, like if you defend, you can skip the line kind of, and I also like that the boost points.
Yeah.
That was really cool because you're like essentially becoming Super Saiyan at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was really fun. And utilizing, was it boost points or break points?
I think it was boost.
It was boost. You're right. But they're each character or your enemy that you would be facing, they have weaknesses. And in the weaknesses, if you exploit that weakness, it takes down their shield. And then if their shield is completely depleted, you get an extra turn. So it's like trying to get to that point, like figuring out their weaknesses. And the cool thing with the scholar character is they have the ability to analyze the enemy and see, okay, how do I best exploit them? So it's that was a cool thing. I was glad that was my first character that I picked, because then it's like, okay, I know how to go through the battlefield and stuff like that. So that was cool.
Yeah, I like that. It reminded me of, maybe a little bit of Pokemon there, where it's like once you've battled a Pokemon or caught it, like now you know its type, now you know information about it, and then the game like keeps track of that for you and will kind of remind you like, okay, they're weak against fire. You should use a fire attack.
Right.
But like the first time, you don't know that they're weak against fire until you either hit them with fire and it's extra effective, or you have a character like the scholar who can reveal that information without doing an attack.
Right.
I also like that you have some control over how you level up the character. So if you didn't want to pick the analyze skill, you could have picked, you could have taken those skill points and put it into like an extra lightning attack or something like that. But just like you, I picked analyze first as well, because it seemed like kind of the obvious choice there for the class that was going on.
Yeah, exactly. You brought up something about the mystery, which I thought I'd like you to touch base on about that.
Yeah, so like there's as a scholar, there's something going on where a book has been stolen from the library, and you kind of have to figure out who done it, Sherlock's Holmes style.
Yeah.
And I liked that as a plot point. It was, the quest that you were on was to talk to people and try to figure out, who is lying, what information you need to try to make the logical conclusion about where this book went. And then once you've done that, now you have the ability to go and do like a dungeon, and that dungeon leads you through these random encounters and whatnot, which eventually leads you to a boss battle where you confront the individual who has stolen the tome. And I just thought that was a good way of like segueing this character who's clearly not like a combat character, into combat. And I think combat, for me at least, became fun once I got the hang of it. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, he does mention, I think, Sherlock Holmes during the whole like thing too. So I thought the dialogue for the most part was pretty good. It's pretty funny and entertaining. It kept me entertained for the most part. But anything else you want to bring up before we talk about some dislikes?
Just real quick, there was an optimize button for equipment. So like while you were looking at your equipment, you could press a button and it just automatically put the correct equipment onto your character, the best stuff you had that was relevant to that character. Okay. And that to me just seems like a really good, smart thing to have, so I don't have to figure that out myself, because I could spend a lot of time, especially once I've acquired a lot of equipment, going like, what's the best stuff? Is this better than this? Is that better than that? Like, I don't know. I could waste a lot of time doing that. So I appreciate that the game was like, I got you. Don't worry about it.
For sure. And also that you can skip cutscenes too.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them.
Yep. So. Speaking of, yes. I'll start off my dislikes by saying, damn, that's a lot of exposition. Like, as the start of this character, maybe not every character, but the start of this character is just so much dialogue and exposition. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was like, am I ever going to do anything besides read text boxes and listen to audio here? Like,
Right.
oh my.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. There was definitely a lot of that, and like, so much so that when the game actually allows you to control the character, I just didn't do anything for a moment, like at least a minute, thinking like, is there going to be another cutscene that just jumps in? So there was a lot of that, like waiting, and but at the same time, I guess I get it. There's like, this is your character. You want to understand like what this world is and what them about. So I will say, I mean, I'm glad that even though there was a lot, they got it out of the way and they front loaded it a bit, and then like most of the time, I was actually doing stuff while I was playing. So I was kind of happy about that.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah. And it's like, and the game, I want to say, like, the battles that I went through were pretty hard. Like even like some of the earlier like random encounters that I did, I was like, what the heck? These guys are hitting me really hard. And I don't know. I think at that point I still wasn't getting the whole boost and exploiting them. So maybe that's what it was, but it just felt like it took forever to take someone out. But I don't know how that was for you.
I rocked and rolled them pretty easily, actually.
Of course you did.
I targeted weaknesses immediately from the beginning and hit them, knock the shields down, and then dumped everything into boosts.
Right.
So like, and some of the attacks will hit twice. So if they're like weak to a physical attack, you can like boost your physical attack and attack twice, and then drop their shields that way. So it's that's what I was mixing up physical attacks and elemental attacks. So I would hit them a couple of times physical, and then switch to the elemental,
right,
and basically power it up as much as I could. And I'll be honest, I didn't have very much trouble with the
I lost that first boss a couple of times. I was like, what the hell's going on? Because I didn't know, like, my thought was like, do I take out the little guys first? But then if I take them out, will he summon them again? Like, that was my thought process there. Because they did have two different weaknesses. So that was that issue.
Yeah.
But I know we talked about the voice acting. While it was good, it was another one of those games where they started off like they were going to talk about everything, and then immediately that wasn't the case. So that was kind of annoying.
That bothers me a lot, because it was all of the early exposition is fully voice acted,
right?
And then once you get out of there, it's like, oh, hello, and then paragraph of text, and it's like, oh, okay, they're not going to read all of it. Like, it was jarring. I felt like all or none for me, right? Like, either have them talk Simlish and I have to read the whole thing, or don't talk at all, or voice act everything.
Yeah.
To me, it's just strange to do the partial.
I mean, like, especially when it's like every piece of dialogue is now having like a or something stupid like that, like in the middle of it. I was like, all right, this is weird. But I get it. Maybe the voice actors were getting greedy. Or, I mean, there was a lot of dialogue that probably would have taken forever to do. But
and it would have added many gigs.
Oh, also true. Also true about that. I also thought that the layout of the settings menu was kind of annoying, because the very first thing in the settings is your language. if you accidentally click the language away, then you're like screwed, because it's like it's not even like English, Spanish. It's like English, then immediately to Japanese or Chinese or something like that. And then I'm like, oh my God, how do I go back? It's like you have to go, because you can't flip it back, because then you have to flip back and then hit confirm. And it's like, which one is it? I don't know. So that was unfortunate. One of the things I didn't like, especially since this game is, I didn't put this in the notes, but I just realized it now when I was thinking about it. When I think it was like in the beginning of the game, when you're coming down the stairs after you've taught someone, the two girls. I went down there's like two flights of stairs that come down together. I went down the left side. In the cutscene, though, I was already down the stairs. In the cutscene, I'm coming back down the right side of the stairs. I'm like, why did you have to do that? I'm already there. And like, I don't like when the cutscenes like make the side characters disappear. Like, that makes no sense either. They're all right there. So why did you have to recreate the whole scene again?
It did seem like a strange choice. I remember that sequence happening. I happened to walk down the same stairs that, the game had me, do it. But I did think it was weird that they like replayed it. I was like, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, that was odd.
Just take over the cutscene up, once I get to that point, and then just take control away. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. It was very strange, but so be it. I mean, you got more here. What you doing?
Yeah. So my controller was rumbling all the time, and I was like, why? Like this doesn't need to be happening. Every time someone closed the door and stuff, it was just aggravating. And I went to go shut it off, and because the settings is kind of laid out in a weird way, it did take me a second to find out how to turn it off. Now, fortunately, there was the ability to turn it off, so I did do that. And speaking of other things that bothered me, the random battles. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too old and grumpy, but like, it feels like a waste of time to me. Like,
I agree.
I wish I could see the enemies and then make a conscious choice to avoid them or not.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it
worked well for me. I leveled up my character a lot because of it, but
I mean, it is a staple of a JRPG for the most part. I mean, not saying that they don't do it, like you mentioned, where you can't, like, I mean, we played Dragon's Quest, we played Bug Fables and stuff like that, where you can either avoid the enemy or go right at them, but it's just an old school mentality, I guess.
It reminds me, and I'll keep coming back to Pokemon because I love it and I played so many of them. Mm-hmm. But like in Pokemon games, there are areas where you can walk and you're totally safe, and then there are things like caves and areas where you're just going to get bombarded all the time. Right. And I like the areas. Okay, like I have no problem with like walk through the tall grass and you may get a random encounter, because I can make an effort to walk around the tall grass if it really bothers me that much, right?
Yeah.
But at least in this, the areas where I was running into battles, I had no, like, it's like you're in an area and they're just going to happen. Like, you cannot avoid them. You can try to run away, but it's not always effective. And I don't know.
With you. Anything else before we get to our other thoughts here?
I thought the headmaster was kind of a jerk.
Yeah. And funny enough, if you listen to the Japanese dialogue, he sounds like the typical jerk voice act, like in anime. You're like, oh, I've heard this guy's voice before. It's very, it's like when you listen to it, oh, okay, it's that guy who does the voice for him. And it's good. But I agree with you. He was a jerk. And
good to hear he was both a jerk in English and in Japanese. So,
yeah.
They got their messaging consistent, at least, if nothing else.
Good voice direction over there. But in terms of notables, How Long to Beat says this game, if you mainline it, will take about 60 hours to beat.
Oof a doof.
60. So it's a long one, folks. But this game is Xbox Cloud capable. That means you're going to have your saves. You're going to be able to play this game on Xbox Cloud and with touch controls. I confirmed touch controls are available for this game. So it's great. Works great. It's a simple game in that sense. Not that many buttons. You're not expecting any sort of like crazy input lag and stuff like that. It works good. So
yeah,
for all you toilet gamers, you got your game for you right there.
Or if we can't find 60 hours altogether, you can play it 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there.
Right. Exactly. So, but yeah, what are the other thoughts you got over there, Tom?
Maybe you might be able to give me some information on this. With all the different characters, I was wondering if you have to play like all these prologues and then they all connect later. Like, I'm curious how the Octopath works.
Right. Yeah. Well, we could talk about that, but we got to find out our final decision, don't we?
Well, I will go first, and I will say...
But before we get to that, we wanted to let you know about our spectacular sponsor, Winner Winner. Winner Winner is a live arcade claw machine game available on Android and iOS, and it's 100% skill-based. Trust me, if you see me play my games, you know I'm not that great, and I still have won games on my first try. There's hundreds of prizes, even featuring gaming merch from Nintendo. Pick your prize from choices in your particular game, or bank your earnings with tickets to redeem any other prize you want from their wide selection. And for all you lovely people listening or watching our show, you can get bonus tokens on your first app token purchase. Download and create your account, then use the link in the episode's description to enter promo code QTB after you sign in. Check it out. It's clawsome.
I can tell this game is going to take forever. You've confirmed it now with the How Long to Beat.
Yeah.
But personally, I think I might be interested in playing a little more if I could somehow know that I was going to be able to wrap up the character I was playing. Like, I don't know if I want to play all 8 characters all the way to completion,
right.
But I'm invested enough in this scholar character and what's going on in his life that I like, if there was some way that I could just play like his story, if I could play an 1/8 of this game, I would probably play it.
It's a interesting point. For me, the story and the characters were intriguing enough that I think I'll definitely go back. Which is surprising. I mean, like, JRPGs for me usually aren't my jam, like nowadays. But yeah, like, it's something about the game, the style, and everything, just really struck with me, and the fact that I can play it on Xbox Cloud is great too, because I'm not tied to just my console or my PC. So, yeah. So I think I'll be playing this game, and I did play this game a bit more. And to answer your question about your other thoughts, you do meet up with the other characters, and actually in their starting areas. So I went south, and I met up with the merchant girl. So what happens is it asks you, like, this is where you start to do the party up system. And I don't know how many people you can have in your party. Maximum, I think, is probably going to be 3 or 4, but that's besides the point. What happens is when you go talk to her, they ask you, do you want to have her add her to the party? And then it's like, okay, do you want to play her prologue? Do you want to play her story? And you can do yes or no there. So that's how far I've gotten.
That's a cool idea. I wonder if that affects her like starting level and stuff like that.
I don't know, because I'm playing through her, like, the merchant story. So she is starting at level 1, But yeah, I'm curious if I get to the next person, what would happen. I'm also kind of curious because her storyline talks about some bandits or something like that have been like messing with her village. Like if my character, the scholar, went to where these other people were, could he like beat them up or do whatever he has to do to complete the quest for her? Like, you know what I mean? Or would that, is this all kind of happening in the past? I don't know. So just some questions that hopefully I can get answers for as I continue to play it.
They've definitely done something interesting here. That's for sure. With the 8 starting characters and how they've laid this game out, it's a cool idea.
Absolutely. So those are our thoughts. Let us know what you think of this game. Follow us and say hello on Twitter at TC1H1D or shoot us an email at TC1H1D@outlook.com. Check out our next streams on Twitch at twitch.tv/1H1D. And if you're watching this podcast on YouTube, send us a comment down below. We promise to read and even respond to them. As you know, Tom, 1H1D is part of the QTB network. You and I, we're part of the QTB network. And if you like gaming podcasts, be sure to check out Quit the Build, a weekly gaming news podcast. Or to see the whole lineup, check out quitthebuild.com/network.
Yeah, while you're there, you could check out 1 Hour, One Decision.
Oh, wow. What's that about? Doesn't matter. But Tom, we got to find out what we're playing next, don't we?
We do.
All right. So,
is it going to be another JRPG?
It's going to be another JRPG, probably. So, surprise me button, why don't you tell us what we have in store? So, here we go. Okay. It's The Outer Wilds, not Worlds, Wilds. WILDS.
Not the one that looks like it's No Man's Sky.
Correct.
The other.
It's the one that looks like Don't Starve or something like that.
Yes. I know what you mean.
Yeah. So
I get the two mixed up all the time. Hopefully I'll download the right one.
Let's hope so. So that's what we're going to be playing next, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thanks, everybody.